Welcome back to Books on the Mic. You know we love to really dig into these books, and today we're diving into Leaders Eat Last by Simon Sinek.
Yeah.
We're checking out chapter 15 specifically.
Ooh, yeah, this is a good one.
If you're interested in how trust and collaboration play into leadership, you are going to love
For
this.
sure.
And don't forget to hit subscribe so you don't miss out on future deep dives with us.
Definitely do that. This chapter is all about what really makes a great leader.
Okay.
It goes way beyond, the classic ideas of charisma or authority.
Yeah.
Sinek argues that real leadership, it's all about creating an environment where people feel safe, valued.
Empowered.
Yeah, he throws out that idea right away. Leaders eat last.
Catchy, isn't it?
It is, but what do you think he's really getting at with that?
Well, think about it this way. He uses the U.S. military as an example,
Okay.
especially the Marine Corps.
Right.
He points out that in those high-stakes situations, lives are on the line. The leaders, they put the well-being of their people above everything else. Makes sense.
It's all about creating that sense of security and belonging,
Right.
even when you're facing danger.
Okay, that makes sense in the military. But how does that translate to business? Thankfully, most of us are not in life or death situations at work.
Right, but that's what's so interesting. Sinek is saying that this idea, putting people first, it isn't just for the battlefield.
Interesting.
He thinks that lots of companies, they make this mistake of seeing employees like expendable resources.
Oh, yeah.
They just focus on the profits, the metrics.
Numbers.
But creating that same feeling of safety and trust, that's what he calls the circle of safety, it's crucial for any organization that wants to last and have real success.
So it's not just about being nice to your employees. It's more about building a culture where they really feel like they matter and they're protected.
Exactly. Sinek, he tells this really powerful story about Captain Mike Drowley.
Oh, yeah.
This A-10 pilot, everybody called him Johnny Bravo. Drowley actually risked his own life during a mission in Afghanistan to protect troops on the ground. He wasn't even ordered to do it.
Right.
He just knew it was the right thing to do.
That is powerful. That really shows how much empathy matters in leadership.
Doesn't it?
Yeah, you can't force that kind of loyalty.
Nope.
It has to come from a genuine place of caring about people.
Absolutely. And Sinek believes that anyone can be a Johnny Bravo,
Oh, interesting.
making those tough, selfless choices if they're in the right environment.
If they feel safe.
Exactly. It's about a culture where people feel empowered to do what's right, even when it's hard.
He uses that term circle of safety
Right.
a lot. What are the key parts of that, and why is it so important for building a team that can really do great things?
Okay, so imagine this. Close your eyes for a second. You're back in the early days. Humans living in a tribe.
Okay.
To survive, everyone had to trust each other, right, protect each other.
Yeah, for sure.
Threats could come from anywhere. That instinct is still in us today. A strong leader, they understand that. They extend that circle of safety to include everyone.
So you're saying a good leader at work, it's like they're creating that same feeling of belonging and security that you would have had in a tribe. Like they're the protector of the tribe.
That's a great way to put it. And that feeling of safety, it's everything because it allows people to take risks, to come up with new ideas, to work together without being afraid to be judged.
Right. Or to be afraid to mess up.
Yeah, think about it. When you feel safe, you're more likely to speak up, to share those ideas, to challenge the way things are done.
To push back.
Yeah, but when you feel threatened, you hold back, you play it safe, you avoid conflict.
It makes you wonder how many companies are really getting this right. It sounds great, but it's kind of idealistic,
Well, Sinek, he's not just talking about theory.
Right.
He gives some really good examples of companies that have actually done this and succeeded. One that comes to mind is Barry Wemmeler, a manufacturing company.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of them.
They're led by this guy, Bob Chapman.
And he took over this struggling company called Hazen Sandiaker and found a culture of no trust.
Oh, yeah.
Really unequal treatment.
Big time.
The factory workers and the office workers were treated totally differently.
Yeah.
So much resentment there.
It's a classic example of how not to build a circle of safety.
Yeah.
Like factory workers, they had to punch time clocks, they had to ask permission to use the payphone.
Oh, wow.
But office workers, they had all this autonomy and flexibility.
Two totally different worlds.
It was a mess.
And Chapman, he saw that was hurting the company.
Oh, yeah.
So he made some pretty big changes.
He did. He got rid of the time clocks, made company phones available to everyone, and basically said, we're all in this together.
It's about creating a more fair and trusting environment.
Exactly, where everybody feels valued and respected.
It shows that a leader can really shift the entire culture of a place just by putting people first.
That's the key.
And it worked. Barry Wimler became more successful.
They did.
But building a circle of safety, it's not just about being nice or avoiding hard choices.
Nope.
It's more about creating an environment where people feel like they can take chances, they can innovate, they can challenge the way things are.
Exactly. And Sinek points to this really interesting research called the Whitehall studies.
I'm not familiar with those.
They found that workers who are lower down in the hierarchy, they're more stressed, not because their jobs are harder, but because they don't have as much control over their work.
That makes a lot of sense. If you feel like you're just a cog in a machine, it's going to be stressful.
It is. And that's where the circle of safety comes in. Leaders who give their employees more autonomy, more ownership over their work, they're creating a healthier and more productive work environment.
So it's about empowering people, not micromanaging them.
Right. Trust your people.
So it's like this balance. A strong leader protects their people, but also empowers them to make decisions and contribute to the bigger picture.
Absolutely.
But how do you actually do that? Like, it seems like it takes more than just wanting to be a good leader.
Well, this is where Sinek gets into the science of how humans behave.
Okay.
He talks about how certain chemicals like dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin, they all play a huge role in how we interact with each other at work.
It's like we're talking about the actual chemicals in our brains that are driving our behavior.
Yeah, it's fascinating.
And those chemicals, they're influenced by the kind of leadership we experience.
Huge time. Let's start with dopamine. That's the one associated with feeling good motivation reward.
Yeah.
It's a powerful force in the workplace, but Sinek says if you focus too much on dopamine, it can lead to bad competition and a lack of empathy.
Interesting.
It's like we get so focused on our own goals that we forget about the people around us.
Right? It's like that saying,
Yeah.
you can't climb the ladder of success with your hands in your pockets.
Exactly.
You need that drive, that ambition.
Yeah.
But you can't let it turn you into like a robot.
A ruthless robot.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's where serotonin comes in. It's often called the leadership chemical because it's tied to feelings of pride, respect, social status. Leaders who put the well-being of others first, who act with integrity and fairness, they actually create a culture of respect and cooperation.
Right.
And that triggers the release of serotonin in their team members.
So it's a win-win.
Exactly. Leaders create an environment of respect, and that respect reinforces those positive leadership qualities.
It's like this positive loop.
It is, but it all comes back to actions speak louder than words.
Absolutely. So what about oxytocin?
Oxytocin, often called the love hormone.
I've heard of that.
It's the one that helps build trust and connection between people.
Okay. So when we do nice things for each other, when we're generous and kind, we're actually triggering this chemical that helps us bond.
You got it. And that feeling of connection, that sense of belonging, it's essential for strong teams. But here's the thing. When we feel unsafe or threatened, our bodies release a different chemical, cortisol.
Oh, no, not cortisol.
Yeah, it blocks the release of oxytocin.
So if we're always worried about our jobs or caught up in office politics, it makes it harder to connect with each other and work together.
That's exactly Sinek's point. When the circle of safety is strong, we're more generous, kind, collaborative.
Makes sense.
But when we feel threatened, we become more selfish and less concerned about others.
So like it all boils down to this idea that you can have the best strategy in the world, but if you don't have that culture of trust and collaboration, it's not going to work.
It's true. Culture eats strategy for breakfast.
That's such a good quote. And that's why leaders who get this, who prioritize building that circle of safety, they're the ones who create the most successful and fulfilling organizations.
They're the ones who get it.
It makes you wonder, are there companies out there actually applying these principles? Especially when it comes to innovation. Like, it's one thing to talk about a circle of safety, but how does that actually lead to results?
Well, Sinek, he points to 3M as a great example.
Okay, 3M.
They're known for their incredibly innovative products.
Yeah.
And it's not just because they hire smart people. It's because they've created a culture of collaboration and sharing.
3M is so interesting. They actually encourage their employees to share ideas and work across departments, which is probably how they came up with so many amazing products.
Oh, yeah.
Like the Post-it note.
Exactly. Breaking down those silos, encouraging that cross-pollination of ideas.
Yeah.
That's how those aha moments happen. And their motto, innovation from interaction, it captures it perfectly.
It really does. It's about making people feel comfortable sharing their ideas, knowing that they'll be welcomed and built upon.
That's it.
And that's so different from companies like Goldman Sachs, where it's all about individual achievement and making as much profit as possible.
Yeah, very different.
It seems like that kind of environment would create competition, not collaboration.
That's what Sinek argues. He believes that this focus on shareholder value has actually hurt company culture.
Yeah.
And in some cases, even society as a whole.
Wow.
He's saying that this constant chase for short-term profits has led to some bad behavior,
Right.
layoffs, a decline in how well employees are doing.
It's like we've created a system that rewards greed,
Yeah.
and then we wonder why everyone is burned out.
It's true. It's almost like we need a new definition of success.
Yeah.
One that looks at not just the money, but how people are doing.
The well-being of the people who are actually making that money.
Right. And Sinek, he's not just complaining.
Right.
He also talks about companies like Costco that have done well financially and have a culture that cares for employees.
Yeah, they've proven that you don't have to choose between treating people well and making money.
You don't.
Costco is a great example. They invest in their employees,
They do.
pay them well,
Mm-hmm.
offer good benefits, and because of that, their employees are more engaged, they stick around longer, and they give better customer service.
Absolutely. It's a win-win for everybody.
Everyone wins.
And it comes back to that circle of safety. When people feel valued and respected, they go the extra mile.
They do.
They're more innovative. They contribute more to the company's success.
Sinek doesn't just talk about businesses, though. He talks about leadership in government and society, too.
It's all connected.
He seems to be saying that these ideas of trust, collaboration, empathy, they're universal.
They are.
Like they can apply to any group of people.
Any organization.
Well.
He argues that the same principles apply no matter what. And he is not a fan of how politics works these days.
What does he not like about it?
It's all about fundraising and winning elections, which has created a very divisive environment.
Yeah.
It's like we've forgotten that we're all on the same team.
We've lost sight of the fact that we need to work together to solve problems.
Exactly. But then Sinek, he gives us this glimmer of hope.
Well, tell me about it.
He shares this story about two members of Congress,
Okay.
Stephanie Herseth Sandlin, a Democrat, and Bob Goodlatte, a Republican.
Okay. Two different sides.
They actually became good friends,
Really?
despite their political differences. It shows that it is possible to connect with people who see things differently, to build bridges instead of walls.
It's a good reminder.
It is. It's about recognizing that we're all human beings with different experiences and perspectives, and we can learn from each other if we just listen.
I love that. So it sounds like what we're learning here is that leadership, it's not just about giving orders or hitting goals.
It's bigger than that.
It's about creating a culture where people feel safe, like they belong, like their work matters.
Exactly.
And that kind of leadership can spread beyond just one organization.
It can. It can impact society as a whole.
It's a big idea. Makes you wonder if more leaders thought this way, if we could create a world where people felt more connected, more fulfilled, more hopeful about the future.
That's the dream. It's something to think about. What's cool is how Sinek connects this brain chemistry stuff to how businesses actually work in the real world. He doesn't just tell nice stories. He uses examples of companies that have actually used these ideas and done really well.
Like Costco.
Exactly.
They're famous for treating their employees, right?
They are good wages, good benefits, chances to grow.
Yeah, and it seems like that's why they're so profitable, too.
It all comes together.
Their employees are happier, they want to stay there, and they treat customers better.
It's the opposite of what Sinek calls abstraction.
Like that.
It's when leaders get so caught up in the numbers
Right.
that they forget about the actual people those numbers represent.
They lose sight of the human side of things.
Exactly. And that's when you see decisions that put short-term profit over long-term value,
Yeah.
even when it ends up hurting the company later on.
Sinek tells this story about a former Undersecretary of Defense.
Oh, yeah.
He got this fancy ceramic cup when he was in office.
Like a symbol of his power.
Exactly.
I remember that.
And then when he left his job, it was like back to reality.
Right. Flying coach, carrying his own bags.
Pouring his own coffee from a styrofoam cup.
It's like a reminder that real leadership isn't about the fancy stuff.
It's not about the perks.
It's about serving others, making a difference, even when nobody's watching.
And that brings us back to servant leadership.
The heart of it all.
A real leader doesn't just tell people what to do, they inspire them.
Exactly. They create an environment where everyone feels like they can make a difference.
Sinek compares a leader to a parent and a manager to a babysitter.
That's such a good analogy.
The babysitter keeps the kids entertained.
Yeah.
Make sure they don't get into too much trouble.
Right, but they're not invested in the kid's future the way a parent is.
A parent is there for the long haul.
Absolutely.
They nurture their kids, they guide them, they protect them.
They do, even when it means making sacrifices.
They're not just taking care of the child in the moment.
They're preparing them for life.
And that's the kind of leadership Sinek is talking about, putting people first, creating a sense of belonging, a circle of safety where everyone can thrive.
I like that.
But it's got to be tough to put these ideas into practice,
It is.
especially in the business world, where everything is so fast-paced and there's so much pressure to perform.
You've got deadlines, you've got competition.
How do you create a circle of safety in that kind of environment?
It's a challenge for sure. Sinek is pretty critical of how a lot of organizations operate.
What is he not like?
Layoffs, the constant pressure to maximize shareholder value.
He thinks that focus on shareholder value has created a culture of fear in a lot of workplaces.
It has. You're always worried about losing your job.
Right.
And that fear triggers cortisol, which makes people more selfish, less cooperative.
And that makes it even harder to get things done.
It's a vicious cycle. People are afraid to take risks, afraid to speak up.
He uses the Deepwater Horizon oil spill as an example.
Oh, yeah, powerful example.
Cutting corners, ignoring warning signs.
It can have terrible consequences.
For the company, for the environment, for everyone involved.
It shows how important integrity is in leadership.
A leader who cares about their people and the long-term success of the company.
They're more likely to make decisions that are both ethical and profitable.
It's about doing the right thing even when it's hard.
Absolutely.
Sinek also talks about shared struggle.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
Leaders need to be willing to get their hands dirty work alongside their team.
Especially when things get tough.
It's like saying we're all in this together.
We're going to face the challenges and celebrate the wins as a team.
It builds trust and camaraderie.
Exactly. A shared experience can bring people together.
He also says it's important to have a clear vision.
A vision for the future.
Something that inspires people, makes them feel like their work matters.
Right. People need to feel like they're part of something bigger than themselves.
And it's the leader's job to paint that picture.
To communicate that vision and get people excited about it.
But Sinek doesn't just talk about business.
No, he doesn't.
He talks about leadership in government and society, too.
It's all connected.
He thinks the same principles apply. And he's pretty critical of how politics works these days.
It's a mess. What's he not happy about?
It's all about winning at all costs.
Yeah.
It's become so hyper-partisan.
It's like they've forgotten they're supposed to be serving the people.
They're supposed to be working together to solve problems. But they're so busy fighting each other.
It's all about their own political ambitions.
It's created a toxic environment.
It has, and that lack of connection, that erosion of trust.
It's affecting everyone.
It's led to a decline in civic engagement.
People are cynical.
They feel powerless.
It's like we've forgotten that we're all in this together.
We need to work together to solve the problems facing our world.
Sinek talks about these two members of Congress.
Oh, yeah. Stephanie Herseth-Sandlin and Bob Goodlatte.
One Democrat, one Republican.
They became close friends despite their political differences.
That's amazing.
It shows that it's possible to find common ground even when you disagree.
It's about remembering that we're all human beings.
We can learn from each other if we're willing to listen.
So it sounds like leadership is more than just telling people what to do or achieving goals.
It's about so much more.
It's about creating a culture of trust.
Collaboration.
Where everyone feels valued and empowered.
That kind of leadership can have a ripple effect.
It can change the world. It makes you wonder if more leaders thought this way. Could we create a better world?
A world where people feel more connected, more fulfilled, more hopeful about the future.
It's a great question. Something to think about. Feels like we need a whole new way of thinking about leadership.
A new approach.
A new operating system for how we run things, both in companies and in society.
Yeah.
One that puts people first and thinks about the long term, not just making a quick buck.
Sinek says that our current systems, they're out of balance.
Out of whack.
He compares it to the human body.
Okay.
Just like our bodies need a balance of hormones and systems to work, right?
Right.
Our organizations and our societies need that balance too.
We can't just focus on one thing.
Like profits or efficiency.
Without thinking about the impact on everything else.
Exactly. It's like that saying, you can't have a healthy economy without healthy people.
We've gotten so obsessed with growth and productivity.
We've forgotten about the people who are actually doing the work.
It's like we've traded our humanity for efficiency.
It's a dangerous trade-off.
We've created a system that treats people like machines.
And then we're surprised when they're not engaged or productive.
It's like we're setting ourselves up for failure.
Burnout, disengagement, a lack of creativity.
But Sinek doesn't just leave us with doom and gloom.
No, he doesn't.
He thinks we can change things.
We can create a better world.
It starts with remembering that we're not just individuals.
We're part of something bigger.
We're all connected,
Our actions affect other people.
even when we don't realize it.
It's about moving beyond me and embracing we.
It's about thinking about the collective good.
And that's where leadership comes in,
We need leaders who understand this,
who are willing to put others first.
to create environments where everyone can thrive.
It's not just about individual achievement.
It's about collective well-being.
Creating a world where everyone feels valued, respected, empowered.
Sinek believes this kind of leadership is not just a nice idea
It's essential
if we want to create a better future.
for ourselves and for future generations.
It's a challenge, but it's also inspiring.
It is.
It reminds us that we have the power to change things.
We can create the world we want to live in.
But it takes courage, commitment, and a willingness to put people first.
It does.
So if you're feeling overwhelmed by all the problems in the world,
Remember, you can make a difference
start by creating a circle of safety in your own life.
in your own little corner of the world.
Reach out to someone who needs help.
Offer a helping hand.
Be a source of strength and support.
Even small acts of kindness can make a big difference.
It's about recognizing that we're all in this together.
We have a responsibility to make the world a better place.
A world that's worthy of our kids and grandkids.
A world where everyone feels safe, valued, and empowered.
That's a vision worth fighting for.
And it starts with leadership,
With each of us choosing to lead with empathy
integrity.
and a deep commitment to the well-being of others.
Go out there and be the leader the world needs.
Create circles of safety
Foster trust and collaboration.
and put people first.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into Leaders Eat Last,
We hope you learned something.
and that it gave you some inspiration.
Remember, the conversation doesn't end here.
Keep thinking.
Keep questioning.
Keep striving to make the world a better place.
Until next time, keep diving deep.